Happy Friday, everybody. Today is May 16, and I've got some free science fiction and fantasy bestsellers for you today. You see, every Friday we here at MetaStellar, read the first few chapters of each of the top 5 free fantasy and sci-fi books on Amazon. Yes, Amazon has a bestseller list just of free books. It's linked in the description box below. Today's list includes a colony ship in danger, a new recruit sent into battle on a distant planet, and an assassin enslaved by a magic collar. And that book is by USA Today bestselling author. But before we get to all that, hi everybody. My name is Maria. I am the editor here at MetaStellar, and welcome back to the MetaStellar YouTube channel. Today, NC Nabertovsky and E.S. Foster contributed to the reviews, but neither of them could make it here today, so it's just going to be me. If you are part of the MetaStellar community or want to be part of our community and you want to help us out with the reviews, email me in the description box down below, or just leave a comment under the video, and we'll see if we can connect. Okay, let's get to the books. Starting with book number 5, and we're going to count down to book number 1. So here is book number 5, Meow by Skye MacKinnon, the first of 8 books in the Catnip Assassins urban fantasy series by a USA Today bestselling author. It says 9 books on Amazon, but the 9th book is actually just a special edition of the first book. The other books are $3 to $6 each, and they're not in Kindle Unlimited. Kindle Unlimited is where you pay $12 a month and you read all the books you want. It's a good deal if you read a lot, but it's not relevant here because the series is not in Kindle Unlimited. And the author has been on our Free Friday list before. So I love the look of this book, but Emma Foster wanted to review it. So here is her review. So she says this is an urban fantasy with shifters, and Kat is a woman who works as an assassin. And the book opens with her climbing along somebody's roof as quietly as possible. She sneaks down into an attic and gets her knives ready for her kill. And she goes downstairs and she hears the victim moving around before going to bed. She gets ready to use her knives, which are dipped in poison, to make it a nice, quick, quiet kill. But the man who was supposed to be her victim turned out to be a little smarter than she expected. And just when Kat thinks she has him cornered, he appears behind her. But he doesn't kill her. Instead, he offers her a job. He asks if she would like to work for him instead of the people that she's currently working for. And she doesn't really buy it. She figures the guy has some kind of ulterior motive. But to sweeten the deal, he offers to remove the magical collar that she's been wearing around her neck for years. It's a mark of her servitude to the people she has to kill for. And when the collar is removed, Kat suddenly has visions of herself, memories of being a cat. So her name Kat is spelled with a K. And she gives the man an antidote because she pricked him with a poison needle while he was doing his thing. And Emma says that it sounds like these two are going to become partners, but with a bit of distrust between them. She liked the beginning of the book. She found it very readable. It got her invested in Kat's goal and mission. And she doesn't usually read this genre, but if you like shifter fantasy and cats like her, she recommends the book. And I do have to say, of all the books on our list today, this one is my favorite for taking a look at this weekend. I like the premise, I like the cover, and I'm looking forward to checking it out. Next, we have Defiant by Hodges, the first of 3 books in the Alfurian Chronicles, a sci-fi series. The other books are $6 each, and they're not in Kindle Unlimited. NC Nabertovsky read this for us, and he says this is a science fantasy, and it's set in a magical world where elves oppress humanity. And the book opens with an action sequence where we learn about humanity's resistance to these elves who are enslaving them. And the main character is a young man who lives in a large city and scrapes out an existence by stealing And he has some abilities that might make you think that maybe he can use the elves' technology, which provides an interesting chosen one aspect to the story. And the big mystery is his abilities and what really happened when the human resistance was destroyed. And that was hinted at the prologue. And it leans more towards the fantasy side. So the sun is green and magic canisters are embedded in people's hands, which have vast powers. He says the plotting is good and it reads well. It's an adventure and hits all the expected beats. And because it's the first book in the series, it does leave some threads unanswered. So he says readability is high, but there's a heavy use of simile and there's some cliches here. And he saw some copy editing issues and was disappointed in how often a good action good action scene was paused for a flashback or exposition. He says the promise is good, but he kind of got hung up on these issues that he has. But if you don't mind a few clunky paragraphs of exposition and some cliche descriptions, then if you're a fan of the genre, you might enjoy this book. And I am actually a fan of that genre, and I don't care about some grammar mistakes and a little bit of exposition issues. So yeah, I'm going to check that out too. So hey, I've got 2 books to look at this weekend. Next, we have The Nameless Throne by Lisa Cassidy and Emma read this for us. This is the first of 4 books in the Inkweaver Archive, a fantasy adventure series. The other books are $7 each and they're not in Kindle Unlimited. So Emma says the book's premise intrigued her a lot because it's an epic fantasy, which she enjoys. And the book opens with Arya, and she's a member of a patrol of warlords. And she and her group had recently departed from the fort they took care of in order to see to the affairs of another nearby fort, and they've been traveling through the snowy forests for days, and Arya's been on high alert. And then when they're close to their destination, she hears one of her troops scream. She looks for him and finds his body. And then somebody who's known as the Shadow Weaver appears, someone who can do magic. And she goes on an attack, but the being disappears instantly. So the rest of them continue on to the fort, where everything seems to be fine. And she mentions to somebody that she's considering quitting because she was passed over by a promotion. But the other guy urges her to hang in there. And then the group then get ready to leave to go back. And that night, Arya has a dream. She imagines that she's in a long, dark hall and spots a mysterious man with white hair who turns to face her. And she wakes up, but she thinks the dream is a sign because she's had the same dream before. So Emma says that she liked the beginning of the book. It was interesting, and Arya seemed like a well-layered character. The book did move slowly, so she doesn't know she's going to stick with this one. But if you like epic fantasy, magic, and mystery, check this out. And epic fantasies do often start a little slower and then build tension and kind of get more and more involved as you go into them. So that's something to keep in mind too. Next, we have Take the Shilling by Raymund Eich, the first of 3 books in the Confederated Worlds military sci-fi series. The other books are $5 each, and again, they're not in Kindle Unlimited. And I read this one, or the beginning of this one, because I'm a huge fan of military sci-fi. And so the book opens with Thomas sitting in class studying physics. He seems to be awkward around other students, but I can't really tell if it's normal awkwardness or if he's especially isolated from everyone. It's kind of hard to tell when you're reading about it from inside a teenager's head, because all teenagers feel awkward, whether they actually are or not. But anyway, an opportunity comes up to leave school early to meet with the military recruiters, and he decides to go. And then we get a long, kind of boring description of his interactions with one of the other kids, of the planet they're living on, the walk to the recruitment office. And at this recruitment office, there are representatives from the Space Force and from the Ground Force, 2 different military organizations that kind of work together. I guess kind of like the Air Force and the Navy. or the Air Force and the Army, more like. And we find out that Thomas has religious beliefs that prevent him from watching recorded videos. He can look at live video, but not at recordings. And he likes the ground force more because he likes the recruiter. And one of the other kids from town brags about his wealth and how he's going to be an officer in the Space Force, and that Thomas would probably be serving under him. And that probably like struck him in an unpleasant way. It certainly struck me in an unpleasant way. I don't want to be working under a jerk. Then he goes home and breaks the news to his mother. And she's really upset. She's a religious leader in their religion, and she's adamant that he go to seminary instead of joining the military. But he's 18, he can make his own decision. And she tells him that if he joins the military, he won't be able to stick with his beliefs, that the recruiter lied to him about them making accommodations for him, and that he might as well like be lost to their religion if he joins. He joins anyway. And then the next chapter is 5 months later. He's now on a space station above the capital of the Confederated Worlds, exhausted from all the travel. He goes through the intake process where he gets skills directly implanted into his head. Then he's offered a posting in the intelligence unit because he has aptitude for it, but that requires looking at recordings. And so he's forced to choose between his aptitude and his spiritual beliefs. And he decides to go into the armored grenadiers instead of taking the slightly safer and cushier position. So then we see him travel to his first posting, that he lands on a planet with his new unit, which is a little slightly scary. And then he sees his first action. Unfortunately, their commanding officer is fresh out of officer school and is clueless and refuses to take advice. And I'm a quarter of the way into this book right now. And only now has the action started, but it's a decent story. The action's really good, and I like Thomas's sergeant, who kind of shows him the ropes and keeps an eye on him. The main quibble I have with the book, and the reason I won't be sticking with it, is that there's a lot of casual sexism. So I don't mind a little bit of it. I mean, you kind of expect it in military kind of books. And this does has the feel of like Starship Troopers or something like that. But it seems like to Thomas, women aren't actual people. They're either girls he has a crush on that the other boys, keep away from him, or they're his mean mother, or they're prostitutes. And there are women in this military, and we see them casually like in the background, and they seem to be treated fine. But there don't seem to be any like full-fledged women anywhere directly in Thomas's life, which is kind of weird and a little off-putting. And then I stopped reading when Thomas's sergeant takes him to a whorehouse. So yeah, so it's bad enough when today's social problems are projected into the future, like we haven't fixed any of this stuff. But these aren't today's social problems. It's like social problems for like 30 or 40 years ago. And there's no reason for it. David Drake was putting women into space combat roles back in the 70s. And I just looked it up. Hammer Slammers is available for free on the publisher's website. And the links are, I'm going to put the links below so you can see them. Baen has a free sci-fi books shelf. And they also have some free fantasy books up there too. So I highly recommend Hammer Slammer series, and in fact, all of David Drake's books. So there's plenty of ways to do military sci-fi without being like weird about women. Anyway, before we go on to book number 1 on today's list, I want to thank our Patreon supporters. All of us here at MetaStellar volunteers, and we pay for original fiction, and we pay for our fiction thanks to our supporters. You guys are awesome. And so all the editors, all the reviewers, all the judges, everybody's a volunteer. And thanks to these supporters, we're able to publish 3 anthologies, which are all currently available on Amazon and all other major retailers in print and electronic form. And last year, we serialized the book Gods and Monsters by award-winning author and artist E.E. King. And this year, we're serializing RENNA'S Crossing by Geordie Morse. Here's all the books. So RENNA'S Crossing is being serialized online now. We just published the 12th installment. All the installments of Gods and Monsters are up for free. And both of the authors have read their books for us on our YouTube channel. The playlists are linked in the description box below as well as our anthologies. So thank you so much for our supporters on Patreon and to our channel members. We love you guys. We would not be here without you. Like seriously, we would not be here without you. If you support original fiction, written by real humans, and especially if you care about new and emerging voices, please, we'd love it if you joined our family. All right, now on to book number 1 on today's list. And it is G581 by Christine Shuck, the first of 6 books in the Glease 581G sci-fi thriller series. The other books are $6 each. And again, they're not on Kindle Unlimited. That's super unusual. Usually, at least like some of the books are on Kindle Unlimited. Kindle Unlimited means that you can read as many books as you want, but the author still gets paid for every page read. So a lot of authors are in Kindle Unlimited. Anyway, I read the beginning of this one because I love hard sci-fi. And the book opens with Daniel. He's on a Calypso colony ship. They're headed to Glease 581, which is a star about 20 light years away from us. And I do not have that memorized. I looked it up. So he's bleeding from a head wound and he's having trouble breathing, maybe from broken ribs. And there's cryopods around him and they're shrieking with alarms. But the cryotechs are either dead or on the other side of the broken blast doors, and they're trying unsuccessfully to get in. So it looks like it's just Daniel here, and these cryopods are about to die because they're going to be reset in 14 minutes. And he thinks it could be hours before help gets to him after breaking through these doors. So it's a really tense moment. I'm interested to see what happens next. But wait, before we do that, we go back in time 6 years earlier to 2098. And we're not in Daniel's head, we are in Edith's head. She's an overworked virologist, and her supervisor wants her to go on a 4-day trip to China. We learned a little bit about her family, but not too much about her work yet. And then we jump again, another 6 years back in time to 2092. And Daniel, we're seeing Daniel again. So Daniel is listening to a huge lecture, tons of people in the audience, and we learned some incorrect information about exoplanets. And I looked it up, and apparently all the incorrect information was because the book was published in 2016. For example, it says that the James Webb Telescope wasn't launched in 2018 like planned, but it actually has been launched in 2018. It's already up there. And there's a lot of stuff that's been discovered about exoplanets in the past few years that the author wouldn't have known about. So don't take your exoplanet knowledge from this lecture. Anyway, according to this book, faster than light travel was discovered soon afterwards, and they sent probes to the Glease 581 solar system. And Daniel learns that there will be a mission to establish a colony in that solar system, and everyone in the audience is very excited about this, and Daniel decides that maybe he wants to go to space too. Then we jump again a little bit to the future to 2098, and we're in China with Edith, who's on a plane, and all she can think about is her family problems. But then at the end of the chapter, we also learn something about a problem with a pig growth enzyme that Edith was working on. And from the book's cover and description on Amazon, it sounds like there's going to be something really, really bad happening on Earth. And I'm thinking maybe this pig virus has something to do with it, or pig enzyme. Then we jump to 2097, a year previously, where the scientist who gave the lecture that Daniel was listening to 5 years before is talking to somebody else and they're recapping recent space history to each other for unknown reasons. And then the scientist gives a presentation to the media about the colony ship and explains about the technology that's being used. So this is a really, really slow start. And things are jumping back and forth a lot. And I know that this colony ship is going to be critical to humanity's survival somehow, based on the description, but I don't know how. And because of all the jumping around, I'm a little confused and I'm not really connecting with any of the characters. But if you do have more patience than I do and enjoy a slower, more thoughtful story, you can check it out. But I'm still stuck on the incorrect exoplanet information. And I'm having trouble getting past that because I'm a little obsessive. So I am going to read the book about the magical cat because that's so much more realistic. All right, everybody, let me know what you think in the comments below and leave an emoji, a cat emoji, if you're going to be reading the cat book as well. All right, thanks, everybody. I will see you next Friday. If you don't want to miss any of these videos, you can subscribe to our channel or subscribe to our newsletter, all linked down below. And if you want to start listening to RENNA'S Crossing, I'm going to post an interview with the author and the first installment of the book up here so you can check it out. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend. Enjoy your free reading. Bye-bye.